The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
The entire Chick-fil-A anti-gay debacle took place while we were on vacation, Lewis, but the fallout from it is still happening. And now Sarah Palin, Caribou Barbie, the queen of seeing Russia from your backyard, is now getting herself into the mix. And again, we talked about this when Dr. Laura Schlesinger went on an incredible racist, N-word laced rant on her radio show and then said that her First Amendment rights had been taken away. Really just people were offended by what she said. Sarah Palin seems to have the same confusion about the First Amendment, Lewis. She doesn't get it either. And it's funny
Which is weird because she claims to be a constitutional expert.
Yeah, she says she's a constitutionalist. You would think she would at least know. I know maybe some of the later amendments, maybe she didn't get to read those, but they don't call it the First Amendment because it's last on the list. It's the first one you come across, right?
Right.
Okay, let's take a listen to what she said. She was on the Greta Van Susteren show. For those of you who aren't listening but are watching, pay attention to Sarah Palin's appearance because, Lewis, she looks completely strung out. She just looks downright bizarre. I don't know if she's wearing a wig. I don't know if she's wearing a fake face. It's just very, very strange. She looks bizarre, and of course, her appearance, the bizarre nature of her appearance pales in comparison to the bizarre nature of what she says. Let's take a listen here.
Picture of you and Todd, I'm curious, are you jumping into this because of the cause or because of the response by some, and most notably some mayors calling for a boycott?
Well, that calling for the boycott has a chilling effect on our First Amendment rights. And the owner of the Chick-fil-A business had merely voiced his personal opinion about supporting traditional definition of marriage: one boy, one girl, falling in love, getting married, and having voiced support for kind of that cornerstone of all civilization and all religions since the beginning of time.
Okay, let's pause it right there. That was about what, Lewis, 20 seconds? 25 seconds? We would need hours to actually go through all of the nonsense and just factually incorrect stuff that she says, including that the foundations of civilization never included homosexuality. That's not true. That there's a traditional definition of marriage from the legal point of view. That's not true. Let's put all of that aside. Let's stick to the First Amendment thing here because that's really the key thing. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech. It does not guarantee freedom from consequences of incredibly hateful and ridiculous speech. And people seem to just have the two things confused. If someone's offended at what you said with your First Amendment rights, then all of a sudden your First Amendment rights have been violated. And let's put all of that aside. It's only as it pertains to the government. If private people are offended and don't buy your disgusting chicken as a result of something offensive that you say, it's not the government limiting speech. And number two, the speech wasn't limited. People are just offended in response to the free speech that you used.
Yeah. In reality, this is no different from you saying to me, Lewis, I hate your white Under Armour flip-flops, and anyone who wears them should be murdered.
Right.
And I said, you know what? F you, Dave. And I walked out of here.
And I said, Lewis just violated my First Amendment rights by being offended.
Yeah. Exactly the same thing.
And again...
And I don't even think Palin would agree that situation has anything to do with your First Amendment rights.
No, and it has nothing to do with the government either, which is really what the First Amendment pertains to. Of course, we've known for a really long time that Sarah Palin is incredibly confused about what the hell the First Amendment actually says. But again, self-proclaimed constitutionalist. Remember when the press attacked her for making negative comments? Sarah, I don't remember what it was. Sarah Palin said something negative about someone else. Whether it was true or not, it was negative, okay? And the press, some members of the press said, Sarah Palin has made negative comments. She thought her First Amendment rights were being attacked. Again, the press is not the government. And again, nobody prevented her from saying anything. They were simply commenting about what she did say.
There was no legal action taken against her by the state or the government.
No.
Yeah.
As usual, people obsessed with Second Amendment solutions don't even understand First Amendment protections. They just don't understand.
What can you do?
Let me present an alternative idea. Maybe Sarah Palin doesn't actually think of herself as the kind of intelligent, insightful, conservative voice that she acts like on Fox. Maybe she knows intellectually she's no powerhouse, but she really believes that her kind of homespun wisdom adds value to the debate. I mean, isn't that possible, Natan? Natan back from vacation, by the way. Isn't it possible that she actually thinks she's an alternative to intellectual, well-reasoned, researched comments, and that those are just as valuable and important to the debate?
I think that it's certainly possible that she thinks that, but I think it's impossible to know what she's thinking because, you know, she has such a chilling effect on our sense of intellectual stability and realism.
I do feel a chilling sensation every time I see images or video or hear audio of Sarah Palin.
She might think that her charm and like you said, homespun
Wisdom
is somehow useful and important, but she has made many claims that that don't really jive with that, like being like, you know, the Russia thing,
Right.
Foreign policy experience.
Listen, Lewis, reading books about history, learning about diplomatic relations, all of those things are what intellectual elites do to run foreign policy. People like Sarah Palin, people in middle America, people who really are at home with American values, they just look at Russia. And that is just as valid as foreign policy experience. We need to be open to that. You have an elitist, a Barack Obama, Kenyan, Muslim, Indonesian point of view of foreign relations, whereas Sarah Palin knows you just look at Russia.
Not to mention sharing a border with Canada.
That's true.
Yeah.
Of course.